the Sydney Film Festival branding. Let me share my screen. Bear with me. For anyone watching, we haven't had a lot of content recently to share, but it's nice to have this one here.
Yeah.
So this is, as always, from Brand New. They seem to sort of have everything and sort of get a jump on new information. I don't know. To start with, all I'm going to say is that I think the work's really nice, but it's a lot going on, and I don't see the relationship between a film festival and the branding here. Saying that, I'm not the demographic, not the target demographic. Never been to the Sydney Film Festival. Not sure I will ever go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have had a few mixed thoughts about it. My first thought is that it feels like something like a design language that I've seen before, in terms of the bright colours and things popping out and that sort of 2D, 3D effect. I don't know how to describe it, just that sort of drop shadow without it being a shadow. And I like it. It just kind of feels like something I've seen before, maybe in like a Cartoon Network or something sort of scenario.
It's got sort of like maybe even like a comic sort of vibe.
Yeah, yeah. But I do like it. And then my other thoughts are that I like the fact that, I mean, I'm also not in the demographic of film festivals, but I sort of have this idea around film festivals that they're a bit sort of stuck up, and the identity that they would usually use is trying to be all fancy and sort of pretentious and stuff like that. I feel like this is much more accessible, much more fun, and sort of takes, I mean, yeah, it takes that fun approach to film, which I think is really important, even when you're going to have films that are going to be serious and sad and, horror and all of the different genres. But I think that this lends itself to the whole thing being much more fun and accessible than other ones have been previously, from my assumption, because I'm not super familiar with the space.
It's got sort of like a music festival vibe, even, maybe. Doesn't it?
Very
And
true.
like you're saying, like, it might be that they're trying to appeal to a younger generation,
Yeah.
trying to go from, like, you got to be in your 60s and again, I don't know whether that's the target demographic or if that's the demographic historically, but yeah, like, it is more inviting, and they've done a pretty good job, I would say, of translating that language across so that it all is tied in together fairly well. A huge thing here, though, is that they've been able to get away with so much variety because I think they would have a variety of applications to play with. Like, they'd have posters, they'd have billboards, they'd have advertising, they'd have various platforms, and they'd have the audience. So if you're, for example, looking at this and you're they've got two typefaces, which is fine, but you need to have enough enough touch points and enough places to apply this brand for it to be effective. Like, if you're just starting off, you don't want this variety, because what's more important then is that you communicate something and people remember you with some sort of consistency, where these guys, the film festival probably runs for a month, so it's more important that you sort of see something and go, oh, what's that, and find out that it's a film festival and you might attend, than necessarily building out like equity in the brand and having, like, it's not going to exist in a month's time. It's not going to exist in a week's time, probably, depending on when you look at it. So it's more important that they get your eye and sort of draw you to the SFF or SF Film or Sydney Film Festival sort of wording, than trying to necessarily make you remember a specific logo. Because in this example here, they've got like 15 different variations.
Mm. I think it looks like they're copying various TV brands though and identities that are very familiar. I can't put my finger on what any of them actually are, but I look at them and I go, hey, this looks like a logo I've seen before. So I think that's a fun little take on it. And as you sort of mentioned, I think catching your eye, for me, I'm not somebody who would traditionally go to a film festival, but this actually does look kind of cool. And I think I have this idea now around the films that they'd be showing that are much less amateur and I don't know, all of these predispositions I think I had about it. I don't get them as much because of this branding, and it makes me want to find out more about it, whereas previous ones definitely haven't.
Right, interesting, because I see it as it's to me it's almost communicating like it's a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's not necessarily a and I'm not meaning any offense, but to me it's just like it could be anything from like a film shot by an 18-year-old to a massive production. Like
Yeah.
it because there's this variety. Like it's not to me it's not like a consistent uh, promise. It's not a consistent brand promise. It's a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it makes me like I don't see how anything can match this. Like I don't see how any of the films can actually match this level of branding. Like the branding is almost, I won't say dishonest, but is doesn't quite capture what you're to expect. Do you get what I mean? Like the end product, I don't see how the end product could match this. It could match one of these things,
Mm.
but not all of them.
I think the word that's coming to my mind at the moment is that this feels more mainstream, um, which is probably, I don't know if that's what they're going for, but it feels more mainstream. So then I do have this idea that the films that they're going to be showing are much less artsy. And I'm sure that they will still be artsy, but just not in the negative artsy way that I've previously thought about it. I
Yeah, not
think
in
it
sort of like
just,
that pretentious, or there's no sort of
yeah,
negative connotations or classist connotations around it.
yeah.
Um, just trying to see if there's a link to their website, just to see what that might look like. Okay. They've done a good job of carrying that branding across.
Hmm.
Yeah, that does seem to be a variety of end solutions, or like sorry, end products, I guess. Or
Yeah.
um, oh, it's on at the moment. It's gonna wrap up very soon. Mm. Yeah, I think ultimately like it's very interesting. They've done a fantastic job. It sounds like last time they worked on the same agency worked on this in 2019. They had thousands of logo variations, which is kind of cool. And it works when it's such a short-lived sort of. It just needs to sort of exist for 3 months. Sorry, for 3 weeks.
Hmm.
From the 3rd to the 21st. But yeah, I think worth talking about, worth pointing out. Really good for for events I think that last for more than a day, but don't go for more than sort of a few weeks. And then every year you reinvent and have like Sydney Film Festival 2022. I would imagine would have its own look and feel that is quite different, and that's really cool because you can have a different vibe. But whether whether what you experience when you visit is going to be matching or not is the question. Any other takeaways from this one?
Uh, no, just that I like it. I'm kind of curious now. I want to find out more about the film festival and maybe check out some films.
Yeah, I'm going to look into it. It's intriguing, isn't it?
Hmm. For sure.
Um,